I've got three thoughts for you, Matt, that may mean something or they may be completely coincidental and may, um, again, not mean anything, or they may tie into this narrative that you're building. Few things come to mind. Number one, that the USC defense, at least at one point in the season, and probably the point that you're alluding to, the competency point in the season, was among the nation's leaders in pass interceptions. Now, that's a great statistic, and great defenses turn over the offense and create big plays and do that. But there is a randomness, not just to fumbles and fumble recoveries, but to also interceptions. There were deflected passes, and again, that can be great play, but that can also be a bit of luck going USC's way, and that's fallen off. Number one. Number two, and again, you're talking to a guy that watched the game out of the corner of his eye while he's talking, other games with call-in folks. Bryson Shaw at Ohio State last season was, I believe, the second leading tackler on the defense for an Ohio State defense that was one of Ohio State's worst defenses in decades. It was not a good thing that he was the second leading tackler in the game. I look at the box score and I see that he made 11 tackles to lead the defense and 10 solo tackles.
That's right. Yeah, he's been excellent in terms of making tackles on a team which is struggling to make tackles. And yeah, that tells you that the linebackers are really struggling to make tackles in front of him. And that speaks to how threadbare the linebacker group is. All right, you had a third item.
The other third item would be the passing effectiveness of this Cal offense is even accentuated by their inability to run the ball. So as last week's guest, Jake, told us, they got a bad offensive line. They can't run the ball against anyone. And so USC knows Cal can only pass the football. They can't run it. And they proved that they can't run it at 2.6 yards per carry. But voila, they still couldn't stop the pass.
Yeah, so this brings up a particular point. So I'm glad you raised that point, especially. Against Utah, USC and Alex Grinch were playing the run. They were trying to take away Tavion Thomas. And so Andy Ludwig, the offensive coordinator for Utah, he realized I just need to throw the ball, and I need to go to Dalton Kincaid in the passing game with Cam Rising. And Alex Grinch never made the adjustment. He was still playing the run. And it would have been great if USC was giving up 4 or 5 yard handoffs, because that means you're not throwing a 20-yard pass to Dalton Kincaid down the field. And so against Arizona, Grinch did play the pass more. And I think it was somewhat easier for Grinch to do that because of the great receivers that Arizona has. So that Arizona, it's unambiguous. Arizona leads with its passing attack. Arizona is a pass first team. That was so the concepts were easier for Grinch to play the pass in that game, but not against Utah. So you go over to Cal, and it's clear that Alex Grinch wanted to take away Jaden Ott. And let's remember that he rushed for 274 yards against Arizona early in the season. But once it became clear that Cal couldn't establish the run, you should be focused more on pass defense, and especially with a 20-point lead entering the fourth quarter. By then, it was known that Cal was going to throw, and yet the coverages were soft. Cal was getting these slants and short intermediate routes with great consistency. Cal converted stacks of 3rd and 8, 9, 10, 11 in this game. And I mean, this coverage was not as soft earlier in the season, and it could just be human nature. Like, we're up 20, got game over, and the guy's mentally checked out. I mean, to an extent, that's part of it. But, that's where I get back to how course corrections were not made from the previous week. That USC had the 31-16 lead against Arizona, and then that became a real close game with Arizona scoring 13 straight points to make it 31-29. So after that experience, right, and after blowing the 14-point lead against Utah, you would think that in a third week, guys are going to be drilled on not relaxing with a 14, 15, 20-point lead. You would think that the message from the coaching staff is going to get through. Play hard, finish, keep doing what you're doing. don't relax, don't relent. And that's not getting through. The coaching, the messaging is not getting through. And so when that is part of the reality,
Oh my goodness.
I don't know where that's coming from.
That's on me. That
Okay.
was part of the graphic I had put up. I should have
Okay.
anticipated that that might happen, even though I shut down all the volumes. But anyway, go
Okay.
ahead. My
Yeah.
apologies.
No problem. So the fact that the messaging really isn't getting through, like that, when that happens, like you have to really be serious about questioning what the coaching is doing and how guys are going about their business. So like no corrections from previous weeks. Like previous weeks were supposed to have been a wake up call, and they weren't. And let's add the fact that on October 22nd, USC didn't play. It's like USC had 2 weeks off. Grinch had 2 weeks after the Utah game to adjust to the Eric Gentry injury. Eric Gentry got injured late in the Utah game. So we knew going in to that off week that, all right, how do I align my defense without Eric Gentry? And how do I teach my players, to adjust in terms of their roles and responsibilities? So like there was time to actually be on the practice field and adjust to the new normal, not a better normal, but the new normal. And then the Arizona game happens, and okay, didn't go great, but we got through it. And so really just the lack of improvement against an opponent where improvement should have been expected, like that just raises a serious concern about Alex Grinch's coaching. Now let's deal with one other somewhat related topic. Who coaches the defensive backs, particularly the cornerbacks for USC? Dante Williams, who is the one holdover on the assistant coaching staff from the Clay Helton era. And so part of the Alex Grinch question in terms of, is he the right defensive coordinator for Lincoln Riley and USC going forward? We have to ask that about Dante Williams. And, the fact that he, was retained by Lincoln Riley, that was a real show of faith. It was also an expression of how good a recruiter Dante Williams is. If we don't see some improvement against UCLA and Notre Dame, the questions that we've raised about Alex Grinch, they need to be asked of Dante Williams, and specifically of Dante Williams. Is his value as a recruiter worth the quality of coaching that he is providing to the corners and to the USC's defense against the passing game? He's the passing game coordinator for this USC defense. If we don't see improvement against UCLA Notre Dame, Lincoln Riley is going to have to confront some very significant questions with his coaching staff.